If you don't recognize me behind this mask, I'm Dixie Hibbs, and I usually come and talk to you about history. And today, since our world affairs are making history, I want to talk to you about a way that you can use your skills and items you have at your house to make you a mask, a fabric mask. And I'm going to peep out from under here. Fits over your nose and your mouth and down under your chin. These don't cost very much because you're going to use what you have at home. The first thing you have to do is find some fabric, either a print or a solid. I have solids, I have dogs, I have horses, I have all kinds. And the size of the print's important. You have to have a 9 inches wide by 12 inches long. That's what's going to make this size mask. Now, I usually go ahead and press it to make it smooth. And I've got a mess here. Okay. I'm going to press it and make it smooth. Now, we are going to sew, and we're going to sew on the sewing machine. But if you don't have a sewing machine, you can still make this with hand sewing. But I'm going to show you the first steps. You want to turn your raw edges. See, my raw edges here are the parts that you've cut. You're going to turn them into the center. And you're going to do all 4 sides. About a half, not quite half an inch. Just enough to make sure when you sew it, you're going to catch it. Some people make them and turn them inside out, but I always figure out the fastest way to do things. And this is the fastest way. I've got 3 sides ironed, and now I've got the 4th side. Now I'm going to take and line it up to where I'm going to fold it down, square it off, line up all those sides that I have folded under. Now, I have to tell you right off, they're not going to be perfect. There's nobody that makes these perfect, but they're going to be close enough that when you sew, you're going to be sewing right on top of this line here and catching all 4 layers of fabric. So this is the first stage. Now I'll go to the sewing machine. I need something else though. I'm going to need rubber bands. No, not rubber bands. Elastic. This is 1/4 inch elastic. This piece that I made is 1/8 inch elastic. This is the best kind, it's the narrower kind, but I can't find it. I've got it on order, should be in tomorrow, and I've ordered 100 yards of it, which will make me 200 masks. I need 14 inches. So I measure off 14 inches from here to here. And I cut it wherever my scissors went. And then I cut it in half to make 2 7-inch pieces. Does it have to be perfect? No. That's the first thing I want to tell you. None of this has to be perfect. You're not going to put it in the county fair to get a blue ribbon. You're going to make something sturdy. All right. I'm using a straight stitch, just regular thread. And I'm not even pinning this. Now, if you feel more comfortable pinning it, feel like this. You see, when I've ironed it, I've got an edge to guide, like that. I'm going to take one end of this 7-inch piece, about, oh, not quite 1/2 inch. And I'm going to stick it under this folded part. And see how it sticks out like that. Now, here's the tricky part. There's always a tricky part. Whoop. First tricky part is I'm going to have to sorry about that. I got to lick my finger. If you ever tried to lick your finger with a mask on, it's really difficult. The hardest thing is drinking a Coke or something. You got to take it up and down. All right. Now you're going to slowly go backwards and forwards to catch that elastic. Now the rest of the way you're going to go is all the way down this line on the outside. It doesn't have to be real close. Stop. Leave some space at the bottom. If you go all the way to the bottom, you're going to have a problem. I'm going to take the other end of the elastic. See, I've got one out. I'm going to take the other end and I'm going to stick it in this corner. Now, I don't know if you can see that corner, but when we get through, I'll show you how it looks. All right, now you see I made a loop. One end's up here, the other end's down here. I make sure my folding is still good. I turn it and come down this side. Let's see, here we go. I think this is a great project for a family. Whoop, I'm down here. I need my other piece of elastic. What did I do with it? Right here. When you get down here, you still have to stop because you're going to need to put one other, you're making 2 loops, one for each ear. Now if you only have one ear, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but most of us have 2 ears, and that's what keeps these on. Now I've sewn over the elastic, and I'm going up here to this edge. I'm going to stop and take this loop again, just like I did on the other side. Raise up the foot. It's kind of fun because you stick it right between where you folded it and ironed it. Now, I usually I've got it sewn on 3 sides. I usually go ahead and top stitch this just to make sure it stays up. That's the first stage. There's one more thing you do. And one thing you don't do is cut something you're not supposed to. You will have to clean this up, but so you got a flat one. Let me show you what happens if you don't do this next one. It doesn't work very well. It's really flat. So what you want to do, we're going to make pleats in it. You see mine has pleats in it. That makes it stand away from your face enough. Gives you some room inside so you don't feel like it's right on your mouth or it's on your nose, but it doesn't really make you feel too closed. So where we are now, we've got the 2 loops and we got the flat. You want to go in here and you want to pinch up a pleat. I say pinch it up, it has to be on both sides. I'm probably going to pin this for you. Sometimes I make them without pinning them, but I always get in trouble. So you want to pin it to where it stays there when you get ready to sew it. Now, I don't pin it too close to where I'm going to sew because my machine doesn't always like to go over pins. I tend to break things like needles. But it's far enough out because we're going to sew very close to where we sewed before. There's one pleat. Here's another one right next to it underneath. Like that. Let's see, let's move this one this way. I'm going to have one more down here at the bottom. They don't have to be very thick, very deep. They don't have to be very fat or very deep. They just have to pull it up because what you're trying to do is to make this section over here on your edge, on the side, to be narrow. So it fits right here against your jawbone. Cheekbone, jawbone, I guess both, because it goes underneath your jaw. Now what I've done, I have made pleats. You can see them on either side, but I have to sew them in. This sometimes get a little tricky because you've got a lot of layers, but not so much. Just start it up here. And just make sure that you're going through all 3 of them, all the way down enough. I usually trim up things when I get through, so it looks pretty rough. It's going to look that way till I get finished. So I've got that side sewn, and you can see how that looks. See, I've got the 3, but they still can be opened up. Now let me sew the other side, and this will be finished. I should have timed this, shouldn't I? Maybe we'll have to. What's fun is picking out the fabrics. And when I do, I'm always thinking about whether it's for a child or a man or older lady. I've had some that were kind of jazzy. I had a Betty Boop fabric, and I had some. This one I showed you that was patriotic. All I have to do now is put the pleats in that one. But this one, I'm not going to put it on because you loop this over your ears, and you pull this up and down, and that covers your nose, your mouth, and your chin. And you saw how easy that was. And we have instructions. Gary's going to give a shot of those in a few minutes. We can go over them again. But if you don't have fabrics around, I'm sure you will though. There'll be something. You might even have a soft sheet or a pillowcase that maybe is worn if you want to use the white fabric. The main advantage, I think, of these, besides being fun, is you can wash them. You don't have to worry about throwing them away. You can throw them in your washer and wash them. Now, if you don't have elastic, this is what I had to do last week. I went all over town. I found elastic here in my collection, but I did not find enough. So what I did do was I took some rubber bands. And you can take 2 rubber bands and you kind of loop one in the other like this to make a longer rubber band. Now this is 2. The one I'm wearing right now has 3 on it. I decided I wanted it looser. This one would work because it would go behind my ear and with the thing, but I decided it was too tight. So if you don't have elastic that you buy at Walmart or whatever, or in your sewing supplies, I found 6 packages in my collection. You can take the rubber bands, there's 2 right there. Now when I loop them together, I literally just take a circle and I put them inside the other circle and then draw it through there like that. So that makes you, and that's about 7 inches. Oh, it's almost perfect. It's 7 inches, which is what we say this ought to be, the elastic. Now, do I do it the same way as that? I can. In fact, I'll show you if you want. It's a little bit different in that we have to separate it, not lay it on top of each other. So I'll take one of these. I've got ready. We iron a lot of them before we get started so when I get ready to sew, I just sew. See, that's already ironed. All I have to do is just start sewing. I'm going to take the loop of the rubber band and put it up here where the fold is. And I'm going to leave it looped like that. I'm not going to put it tight. It might work tight, but I want to leave it looped because I want to put stitches around it and over it. And your presser foot may have a little trouble going over the rubber. Daggone it. I don't know how many times you all have had to thread your sewing machine, but I probably have done it 1.5 million times over my 50 years of sewing. Where's this back on? I'm going to keep Gary safe here. I don't have any temperature. I don't have any cough, but I'm doing this so that to let you know it's not a big deal to wear it. All right, now I just have sewn over the rubber band. I don't know if you can see. I sewed over it, kind of make a loop. It doesn't really matter. The whole idea is you're going to have something stretchy that fits behind your ear. I take a loop again and stick it under here. And by sewing over it, not just in it, the fabric's going to keep the rubber band from coming loose. I need 2 more. Did I have 2 or 3 with that one? I forgot. I had 3, so I need to fix 3 of these. So put a circle through here and then pull it back through this loop to where you're getting them like that. Someone told me to use the hair ties, and I looked at them. I actually found some and brought them out, but I think they're going to be too tight. Well, how about that for flying away? This is a ponytail tie or hair tie, and I think it's going to be too tight to go over your ear and pull on it. But you can try it, particularly for children. Now, for children, there's a different measurement. The technique of sewing them together is the same. I'm going to finish this up. I'm going to lift that up, and I'm going to stick this loop underneath here. And I'm going to catch it with the sewing. And this loop's going this direction, so we go up here. Remember, you always have to have a loop, so you have to the other end of your elastic, whether it's rubber bands or actually elastic, what they call braided elastic. I've given these away to children, to the mailman, the guy who mows my grass. And the reason I do that is, of course, I like to make them, but also, if it will encourage them to wear them out in public, we don't know who has this virus. That's one thing everybody agrees. You could have no symptoms and be a carrier. But our initial thought is to be social. You see what I've done? It looks like almost an exercise thing. I still have to put my little pleats in it. I'm going to do that again so you can see me do it again. You go up here, close to the top, and you pinch your up just about, maybe ½ inch. And you fold it down, put a pin in it just to hold it over here in the middle. And right under it, you're going to do the same thing again. Like I said, I have done it without the pins, but sometimes I'm yelling because it dropped out of sight, so to speak. It let go too soon. So I think pinning it is the easiest way. But it's the only thing that slows you down is pinning this and getting it ready to put the pleats in. And if you pinch it across all the way, they're lined up pretty good. And often we go ahead and iron it after it's done. I'll show you that one too. My grandmother taught me to sew when I was 8, and I enjoyed it very much. And when I was in high school, I made all my clothes because we lived on a farm. We didn't have a whole lot of money, but I could take $10 worth of fabric and make 5 or 6 different outfits I could wear for the whole year. And I learned on a treadle machine where you used your feet instead of electricity. All right, I've got my 3 pleats in there. You can see they're kind of apart, but once you lay them in here and you lay them flat, see how I'm holding them down? And over here, you're going to have to thread the machine again. If I had a nickel for every time I've had to thread a sewing machine, I could take you and everybody else to Europe, I believe. But we can't go right now, of course. But the main thing I try to tell my granddaughter when I was teaching her to sew, pull that thread out far enough that when you get ready to start again, it won't come unthreaded. And I should tell myself that every time. There we go. Now, all right, I'm over here. I'm not right on the edge. That's one thing, remember? Because the edge already has sewing on it. That's all you have to do there. You can back stitch if you want to, if you feel more confident. But you don't, well, see, I did the same thing again. I cut it too short. I think it's from trying not to waste anything. I don't know where my idea of saving 2 inches of thread, because it takes up about 4 or 5 minutes of time to save 2 inches of thread. So, all right, here we go. Now, we've made it with rubber bands. And we've made it with, this is 1/4 inch elastic. This is the 1/8 inch elastic. You can see the difference there. It's half the size of this. It's a little easier behind your ear. You hardly notice this behind your ear. I notice the rubber band because I've got it rubbing against my side now. And this is a little bigger. And you can tell that's a little bit bigger. I don't mind it being different sizes. In the long run, if somebody's trying to make, like for a child, you want to start out with it smaller. If you're making it for a child like 6 and under, what you want to do is cut a piece that's 10 inches long instead of 12. I just cut one, I think, a minute ago. What did I do with that? Maybe this one. Well, I thought I did. To where you've got, when you fold it down, it's not as long. So you're going to have 10 inches, which is double 5. That's not it. And you're going to have, it's not going to be as wide. It's going to be like, instead of being 9 inches wide, which is what we work on, you're going to be like 7. And what you end up doing is having one that's smaller like this. And your elastic for the children should be 5 inches, not 7. So you've got 2 sizes. The adults are 9 by 12, and the children are 10 by 7. So you've taken 2 inches off the top and 2 inches off the bottom of your measurement. But when you have a little one like this, I've got some great-granddaughters I'm making. One has dogs and the other has cats, and somebody asked me about the boys. Well, I've got cars and trucks. And if you can make them with fun things like that, they might find it fun to wear them. Pretend they're playing if they're driving trucks or if they're chasing a dog or whatever. And make it a fun thing. You know, we all dress up at Halloween. We're just having an early Halloween this year. Here's my sister said I wouldn't do this, but I have to tell you. I found Elvis fabric. And I don't know how many of you all love Elvis, but I know a lot of people who do. And I'm going to make myself one of these. And I'm going to fix it so when I wear it, I'm going to have Elvis right there where I can give him a kiss every time I put it on. So if that sounds silly, I'm being silly in a time of seriousness. And if you have something like that that you want to do, you should do it. Our memories and our family gatherings and all the good things that happened to us, we need to be remembering that right now. And don't make your fear keep you from reaching out to people. I don't say no. Gary is about 5.5 feet from me right now. Yeah, he's backed up. He didn't have that 6. And with the mask, I am probably not a bit contagious. But if you want to play cards with your family, put your mask on, sit down at the table, wash your hands, play cards. Just don't. And this just keeps another line of protection. It's not medical. It won't. If you're really sick and coughing, you need to do something else. But if you're just around and trying to stay quarantined and at home, make some mask up for your family. Pick out fabrics that make you think about each one of them. I've got some with pigs on it. I've got some with John Deere and all kinds of different things. And again, it makes people laugh. If you have any questions, Gary's going to show you the list of materials and all that that's been written up that you can a little easier to read. Maybe not. You don't have to remember everything I say. But simple sewing. If you don't have a sewing machine, take your needle and thread, double thread it, and go right along the same path that I went with your needle and thread. You don't have to have a sewing machine. You just have to be able to. In fact, you might be able to staple it together. I'm not sure about that. That would be a neat one. Talk about high tech. We're going to staple and rubber band ourselves to health.